What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Mentors Collective. On this episode, this is going to be what the Mentors Collective is all about. This is why I started this. This is to help entrepreneurs and guide them in starting their business, scaling it, and learning from the best of the best. And with that being said, as an entrepreneur, it can be a very lonely road. It can be very lonely. And if you don't have a network of people who are going through what you're going through, have been through it, who are at even farther along stages, you can look to for help and guidance along the way, it can be really challenging. For that reason, I have created my own, close circle of entrepreneurs, but have always been trying to branch out, meet new, people who are in this life who are more advanced levels than me, and then obviously give back to people who are still learning. And with that being said, I am going to introduce an amazing guy. I actually found him because I listened to his entrepreneurship podcast, but he has started a group of entrepreneurs that I have paid to join because I know how valuable this is, called the Launch Coalition. He hosts the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast and is the author of Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur. Super inspiring guy. Definitely check out his podcast. I actually started listening to it with no one telling me to. I just found it and stayed on it, have learned a ton, and I hope that he can teach you some of what he taught me. And with that being said, welcome, Brian Lofrumento. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thanks, Jay. Super excited to be here. And dude, I've loved following your journey as well and seeing the launch of your podcast. So exciting to be giving back. So exciting to see your growth as an entrepreneur. And man, let's give your audience some serious value today.
I love that. You're such a professional from the intro it on, and I'm honored to have you here. I know this episode is just going to be packed full of value for everybody. So you've done a ton of stuff. You've, ran your own companies, you've wrote a book, you run a very successful podcast, and now you're doing what I think the inevitable kind of next step for me and a lot of people who have already done it is, which is giving back. And you're doing that not only through your podcast, but through this new group of entrepreneurs. And I think you talked about on one of your episodes how powerful community is as an entrepreneur. So that's really what I want to kind of talk about. What is the power of unity among entrepreneurs? How can we help each other? And why is it so important to get involved and build this group around you?
Yeah, for sure. Good question. And so, Jay, full disclaimer, I spent 4 years of my life in business school. So I spent $56,000 a year sitting in a classroom. And the truth is, I didn't spend many hours in that classroom. Fortunately, after freshman year, I realized, holy cow, this isn't the way you learn business. The way you learn business, it's like riding a bike. You're never going to learn how to ride a bike from sitting in a classroom or reading about how to ride a bike. Eventually, you just have to put your butt in the seat and start pedaling, and you're going to fall and you're going to learn and you're going to start balancing. And so when I was in college after freshman year, I actually started my first business. I always tell people it's my first real business. It's my first big success story. It was a soccer blog. And when I was starting my soccer blog, Jay, I know you can relate to this. I had no clue what I was doing. None of us know what we're doing when we just start out. And so even though in all of my classrooms, I was told by professors, look out for your competition, see what it is that they're doing, do a SWOT analysis, all this BS business advice from professors who haven't started their own businesses. When I started my business, I said, you know what? I'm going to email every single one of my so-called competitors because those are the people who have been in the game. Who better to ask than people who have been doing it? So what I did was I reached out to all of my competitors, anyone who owned a soccer blog way bigger than mine. I reached out to them, and that's where I got my biggest wins. These competitors were my biggest assets, my biggest resources. Even to the point, Jay, like people underestimate when I say this, even to the point where they were sending their advertising deals to me. So after they'd close a deal with Nike, for example, they would tell Nike, hey, check out this blog as well. This blog's awesome. We think you should advertise there as well. So competition has always been, and having a community has always been my biggest asset. And I think that's the missing link. Jay, I'm glad you're taking the podcast interview in this direction because we could talk about identifying your ideal customer and all these other things. But
Million
people have
things.
probably done that and realized that's not the secret. That's not what actually delivers results. So time and time again, I've just found that it's really the community aspect that grows real businesses.
Yes, absolutely. And just to touch on that, where I think people can find so much value in this is you can buy an online course. You can have all the information handed to you. You can have a 3-inch thick book of a whole game plan and business plan of what to do. You open up to that first page and you're like, all right, now what? Like I need help with points 2, 4, 6, and 8. Oftentimes there's no one to turn to for help. And that's where a lot of this comes into play. Just having like for me, software is a big thing. Like I love software and I've wasted so much time and money on, the wrong tools or the wrong way to hire somebody or just hiring the wrong person in general. And I wish that at that time I had a group that I could be like, anyone have any suggestions for X, Y, and Z? 50 bucks a month or 200 bucks a year, whatever these things cost to be part of an elite group of entrepreneurs where you can have access to something like that. It's just that's where the huge value comes into play. Just one of the points. I know there's a ton of other really cool things we're going to be doing, like the flash mobs, which I definitely want to get into.
For
But
sure.
just one point that I wanted to point out: just you can be handed this stuff. You can buy an online course. You're going to run into problems along the way. I guarantee it. No online course, no book in the world is going to be able to explain to you how to do each step. It's just a commonality.
Yeah, Jay, one thing that really makes me die laughing every single day I log on to social media is, are you also a member of the ClickFunnels group on Facebook?
Yep, sure am.
Yeah, so there are hundreds of thousands of people inside the ClickFunnels group on Facebook. And us entrepreneurs, no matter what industry we're in, we like to talk about ClickFunnels. It's a really powerful marketing software. We all love ClickFunnels. We all use ClickFunnels. But here's the thing about those two, let's just call it 200,000 people within the Facebook group for ClickFunnels. We all have access to the exact same software, every single person. So how come 99% of people in that group aren't making money at all? It's not because of software. It's not because of tools. It is because of these external factors. And you've gone through it in your own entrepreneurial journey. I've gone through it in my entrepreneurial journey. Tools will only be as good as how you use them, and you will only use them as good as the community and the people that you surround yourself with. And a key part, it's actually one entire chapter in my book, is specifically about haters. And if you spend your time hanging out with people who knock you down, who tell you your ideas are too crazy, who don't understand your journey, who tell you, why don't you just go get a real job? Two words that always drove me crazy when I started my entrepreneurial journey, then it's going to be 20 times more difficult. So, yeah, there's so many different ways we could take this, but at the end of the day, there is an X factor for successful entrepreneurs. And I don't believe that X factor has anything to do with strategy, with tactics, with tools. It goes far beyond that. And it truly is. And that's why the title of my book, the title of my podcast is Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur, because it truly is a transformation that you have to make.
Absolutely. I know you were just talking about the power of surrounding yourself with people who are doing something similar to yourselves. A lot of my friendships since middle school have died out because I've taken a completely different route, a totally, non-conforming route. I was a medical doctor. Now I'm practicing business full time. People are like, what the hell's going on? And I'm left with, an inner circle of like five, and all of us are exact same mindset, very freedom driven, very independent, very entrepreneurial. But it's hard to find others, especially in your area, to network with and connect that can relate. Who are gonna be like, all right, who wants to go to Nicaragua for 2 weeks? And now I've finally built that network where I'm like, who wants to go to Nicaragua for 2 weeks? And 10 people raise their hand. It's awesome. What's that journey been like for you? Have you lost a ton of friends over time? Do you now have a network of entrepreneurs? How did you find them, leading up to where you are now?
Yeah, good question. Definitely a loaded question because there's a million different ways we could talk about that. I do know, like, as soon as I went to college, I started my first real business after freshman year, and I quickly noticed, holy cow, like none of the conversations that my college friends are having interest me anymore. Like here I am trying to change my industry. I started a soccer blog. It became one of the most read soccer websites in the entire world. I was interviewing players like Cristiano Ronaldo, like Wayne Rooney. So I was in the heat of the moment, like doing real things. And then I was on weekends, I'd fly back to the United States. I spent a lot of time in England interviewing these guys. And so when I'd come back to the States and I'd hear my friends being like, oh, which bar should we go to this weekend? It's just a different level of thinking. It's a different mindset of where your entire brain is. And Jay, I know that you can relate to this as a fellow successful entrepreneur. When we're sitting around family on holidays, everyone's hanging out because it's their time off. Our brains are going a million miles a minute.
Yep.
And it's that feeling that most people don't understand and that most people don't know how to use that and facilitate those million-mile thoughts for actual productive action. And so really coming back to the competition, like that was my first taste of knowing what it feels like to have people who lift you up. And it's actually one of my favorite books in the world. It's called The Magic of Thinking Big. It's by David Schwartz. I'm pretty sure is the author's name, The Magic of Thinking Big. And there's one part of the book where he says, the way you'll always know if you're being surrounded by big people is if you tell them your big dreams and it's nothing to them. Nobody, if you and I were in the room with a billionaire right now and we said to them, yeah, we want to grow a $1 billion empire, they'd say, yeah, go do it, because they know it's possible. They did it themselves. Whereas if we said that to a minimum wage employee, they'd be like, yeah, we all want to do that. It's just a dream. And so always I've been on the pursuit of just sharing my big ideas with the world. Jay, this is a fun story. I've never actually told it publicly, I don't think. So my podcast started because the girl I was dating her for 4 years back in Massachusetts, which is where I grew up. And I told her my business was just building momentum. My book had already launched, it was doing really well. And I said to her, I was like, I want to start a podcast. And Jay, I'll never forget the night we broke up because she specifically said to me, she said, man, you just like, how many other things do you want to do? Like, who says that you should start a podcast? Who's going to listen to your podcast? And that was the moment where I knew this is it. She's not a big thinker. She'll never support me in my own entrepreneurial pursuits. So, yeah, to me, it's finding those people where when you share your big ideas, they do support you, they do build you up. And Jay, I'm going to put this stipulation in there because as entrepreneurs, we always talk about the friends we've lost along the way. Your friends don't always have to be entrepreneurs. One of my best friends in the world, he's actually a guy I grew up playing soccer with. When I tell him my big ideas, he's just like, dude, you're the man. Like, you can do this. He's not an entrepreneur. He works a normal job. He bounces around from different odd jobs. He's one of the most supportive people in my life. So it truly is about finding those supportive people, people who either lift you up and who support your dreams, or on the flip side, there's people who just knock you down and tell you why you can't do it. It's so important to always ask yourself with every single person, which one of these two are they?
Absolutely. And I just want to dissect a little bit deeper one of the things you just said, which is breaking up with the girlfriend who was not on the same page, same mindset, and not supportive of your dreams. And I know that you're currently with somebody else. You're married, is that correct?
I'm engaged right now.
You're engaged. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That I think is potentially, I mean, I've had a hard time finding somebody, significant other, who can get on the same page and same wavelength as me. But I think that is critical to someone being successful going forward, is finding that right. I mean, that's a life partner. That's
Yeah.
somebody who's going to be propping you up and supporting you along the entire journey. Just something I wanted to point out. So important. I have no idea where to find this woman. Where did you find yours? And how has it changed your life?
Gosh, I don't know how repeatable this strategy is. I found mine in a hot tub, Jay.
That's, I hear that's the best place to find your wife, randomly in a
you're
hot tub.
you're in Florida. It's hot enough. Go spend some more time at the pool and you'll meet somebody. But the key is share your big ideas, see how she reacts.
Absolutely. And is she an entrepreneur? Is she on the same wavelength? Has she been supporting you?
Fun story. I actually specifically, so I moved to Los Angeles. So after that breakup that I told you about, I moved to Los Angeles and I said, man, I need to be around bigger thinkers. I need to be around people who are from all over the world. I need to get out of my small hometown in Massachusetts. So I moved to Los Angeles 4 years ago and I found exactly that. I found so many different people from so many different walks of life. And I specifically said, I don't want to date an entrepreneur. Why? Because of all the things we've talked about already. Our minds go a million miles a minute. We're always thinking about things. We're always coming up with new ideas. And I said, as an entrepreneur, how nice would it be to just have somebody who's that rock, who's somebody who's stable, who isn't necessarily constantly thinking about these things. And so I met my now fiance. Her name's Kat. She's from Ukraine and she's had a really good corporate career as a CPA. She was in public accounting. And sure enough, she quit her job. So now she's a full-time entrepreneur. She's already replaced her full-time income in her first year of business, which just, I think this is a further testament to say that when you're around people doing big things, you will do big things as well. It's why there's that huge quote, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Jay, you're a physician. You probably know the scientific merits of this. That is, obesity is contagious. If
Mhm.
you hang out with 5 people who are eating Doritos and Cheetos all day long and watching TV, you will probably be obese like them sooner or later. And so I do think it's such a cliche in the world of business, but it is so important. And yeah, I'm so lucky to have found somebody who now understands my dreams, who now understands the struggles, the mindset obstacles, the question marks that we all have about ourselves and our businesses from time to time, and also knows how to weather those storms and push me forward and always take me back because she's going through that journey as well.
So you weren't looking for an entrepreneur, but you found one.
Yeah.
You know, I think that I want one. I'm pretty sure that I want one. I've never had one. So if there's any entrepreneurial ladies watching this show, be sure to slide into the DMs. But I feel like we kind of need them because I know you like to travel. You value your freedom. You value your time. If I ended up marrying a doctor and she's working 6 days a week, I mean, that's a pretty big hurdle to jump over in a relationship.
Yeah, for sure. We actually just talked about it the other day. So I'm sitting in an empty apartment right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see. And the reason is because come Monday, we're rolling out of Los Angeles on a 4-month road trip. So it's things like that. And last year, when Kat became an American citizen, we also said, and I had recently bought a Tesla. So we were just like, why not go on a cross country road trip to celebrate her being American now? We have opportunities like that. We travel a ton. Even despite the pandemic this year, we've been doing what we can to take day trips here throughout California. So yeah, absolutely. It's entrepreneurship is way more than just a business. It totally is a lifestyle. It definitely helps to have someone who can live that lifestyle as well.
Couldn't be more true. I just bought a Tesla last week. High
Tell me you
five.
got a Model S.
No, I didn't get the Model S. I got the Model 3 all souped up. I'm pumped though, but they've got no stock, so it's gonna be here in like 8 weeks. I'm going to Mexico for 4.
Oh,
I'll come back, I'll
sweet.
rent a
That's
car.
amazing.
Yeah, no, I can't wait. I'm pumped. You got
Dude,
the
you
S? The S is
honestly, so
sexy.
yeah, there are some brands in the world that when you buy it, like all you can do is tell people how amazing it is. And also, I think there's a lot of marketing lessons to be learned from there. But Tesla is totally one of those brands. I talk to people about Tesla even when, I get no benefit from selling Teslas to people. I've already convinced 6 different people to go out and buy a Tesla. And it's a great example of how a good product inevitably leads to more sales, leads to more fandom, leads to great marketing from your actual customers. So, man, you're going to be addicted. I'm excited.
Yeah, I don't wanna race you. You're definitely gonna win, but anyways, let's talk a little bit about the Launch Coalition because I'm super excited for this to drop, for my portal to open up and start connecting with other entrepreneurs. So, how long has this been in development? Tell me about what to expect. Honestly, I didn't do too much research on it before I signed up. I invested in you. I invested in the idea. I'm just pumped to, be able to network. So tell me a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. So, kind of, I alluded to it a little bit in my story. So, when I was in college, I started my first real successful business. It was incredible. It just blew up, 3.5 million readers from all over the world, did really well. We were doing $1,000 days when I was, a junior in college. It was incredible. I went out, bought a brand new Audi. My roommate went out, bought his dream Mustang. So, we were doing really well. And then after that, I started a marketing agency because everybody was asking me how I grew my first business. Did really well with that. I started that with a business partner of mine. But my business partner and I went separate ways after 2 years of running our agency. Agency work just burned us out. And so 2014 was the first year that I was truly on my own as an entrepreneur. I didn't have a business partner. I didn't have a team working with me. I was doing everything online. I was running Facebook ads. I was selling online courses. So it's the first time that I really knew what it felt like to be alone in my entrepreneurial journey. And Jay, I was desperate. I was driving all up and down the East Coast. I was going Boston, New York, DC, Maryland. I was going all over the place looking for these other entrepreneurs. And I was really lucky because I found some awesome ones. So actually shout out to Dave Rogan-Moser and the guys over at Proof. I was spending a lot of time with them. They lived in Maryland at the time. They have now started the company Proof, which is a multi-million-dollar company. And Dave actually, he's one of the sub headlines on the front of my book. So I was spending so much time with them. We were really encouraging each other to dream bigger, to do bigger. We were kind of owning our space in the world of online entrepreneurship. But gosh, it was hard to find people like that. No matter what city I was in, it was hard to find people who were at a certain level, who were
Mhm.
doing big things. And so that was the year in 2014 that I said, man, how cool would it be to start like a coalition, the Launch Coalition, somewhere where we're constantly launching a place for our big dreams, for our big projects. And I thought about it. And at the time, I thought, let me just find a group of 10 entrepreneurs, and we are the Launch Coalition. Anytime we launch a new product or service, we all promote it for each other. We all have each other on our podcasts. We all co create YouTube content together. We do all of these things together. So I pictured it as a 10-guy group of entrepreneurs. Now, I never found that group. It's really difficult, as you talked about. It's really easy to find 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 people, but it's really difficult to find a group who will always show up for each other. So fast forward to 2020. And here we are now, and I'm working with a group of entrepreneurs. Once a year, every single year, I pick a small group of entrepreneurs to work with individually. And so it's me and a group. We meet every single week on Zoom, no matter where in the world I am. And I did this throughout the pandemic. And so while the pandemic was shut down, I emailed my list and I said, great businesses will be formed during the pandemic. I started a fitness business with a personal trainer who I met here in Los Angeles. We grew it to 10K in less than 30 days, did a really great job of launching that business. I've been working with this group of entrepreneurs, and seeing their progress has been incredible. And it's made me realize the strength in them launching their businesses during all of this has nothing to do with timing, really. It's a good excuse as a pandemic to say, hey, we're all home anyways, let's launch our businesses. But it has less to do with timing, less to do with business strategy, and more to do with the fact that they show up every single week for each other and with each other. And seeing their journey, seeing their transformation, I've realized the greatest gift that I can give to this group of entrepreneurs is an ongoing and forever community. A community of people that show up for each other, that collaborate together, that they bounce ideas off of each other. And so I realized this is the Launch Coalition. The Launch Coalition isn't for 10 guys, it's not for 10 entrepreneurs, it's for everybody. Like every single entrepreneur needs a coalition and a community of fellow entrepreneurs. So I got really excited. I said, this is the birth of the Launch Coalition. I looked at the domain name and I realized it's not available. And then Jay, I searched to see who owned that domain name, and it was me. I bought it in 2014. It's been an idea for literally 6 years. So finally it's turning into reality. We already have dozens of members signed up that I've handpicked. We have an application process. And Jay, we could talk about how your listeners can get into the Launch Coalition as well. But it's really a community of growth-minded entrepreneurs who understand all the principles we've talked about up to this point in this podcast episode. It's people who understand that when you work together, when you grow together, you exponentially accelerate every single thing that you do. If you're launching a book and you want to be a New York Times or an Amazon bestseller, for example, you need ratings and reviews. It's really hard to get people to show up for you. But if you've got the Launch Coalition, you just hop in there, and you already talked about flash mobs. You ask people for a flash mob and you say, guys, I need ratings and reviews. And we just show up in numbers, in droves, and we make it happen. We're going to have top ranked podcasters in there because we all jump in and show up for each other. We're going to have successful 6 and 7-figure launches for the same reason. So it's always been one of my favorite quotes, a rising tide lifts all boats. And I'm so excited to see what happens when you get a huge community of entrepreneurs together to make sure everybody succeeds.
Love that. And we had a call, I believe it was last week, where we talked about how we've seen this model and we've seen entrepreneurs band together and succeed together. And we are the next generation of those entrepreneurs, the Jay Shettys, the Ed Miletts. We can do that for one another. And, as these guys fade out, we can start fading in and running the exact same model. Just like you said, a rising tide lifts all boats. We're doing it right now. And for anyone who wants to join the Launch Coalition or network with me and Brian, I think that's a massive opportunity to utilize us. So we could utilize you, and I'll help each other grow and build our businesses and build our personal brands to exactly that level that we've seen proven to work.
For sure. And it cracks me up. Anytime I see one of these big gurus launching a new product or service, Jay,
Mhm.
they have an unfair advantage. They have each other. They have their cartel of other entrepreneurs. It always cracks me up. Like, I love Russell Brunson to death. He's been on my podcast. He's a really great dude. I'm in his Dream 100. And anytime Russell launches a new product or service, he always has a gazillion reviews already. He already has a gazillion testimonials. So when he goes to market, he's got social proof. It's easy to sell because people are already saying amazing things about it. That doesn't happen by mistake. It happens because Russell has his cartel. And previously, that wasn't available to normal everyday entrepreneurs. So that's why I'm excited about the Launch Coalition. That's why I'm excited about people having their own cartel. You talked about us becoming the next wave of industry leaders. That's what I'm truly excited about, because every single person has it in them. They just haven't had that X factor up until this point. And I know that the Launch Coalition is that X factor for so many of us.
I'm excited. I think we're bringing in the next generation. We're changing the game. I think this is really going to, skyrocket everybody's brands and help a lot of people. So tell me, what kind of entrepreneurs are we looking for in the Launch Coalition? Is it for anybody to apply, aspiring, people who are just starting, coaches? Who's going to get rejected and should maybe wait? I think that's the important question.
Good question, Jay. You're the first person who's asked me that. There have been a heck of a lot of people who have been rejected. And I'm just like, why aren't these people asking why they've been rejected? Because there's always a way to get in. So yeah, truly, we are looking for growth-minded, collaborative entrepreneurs, people who do understand the benefit of not only being helped by other people, but helping other entrepreneurs. To me, that's really at the root of everything we do in the Launch Coalition, because let's face it, the coalition only works if that's the mindset that we all have. If, Jay, let's say there's a bad apple. I'm not going to pick on you. We'll use Bob as an example. Let's say Bob joins the Launch Coalition and he's like, yeah, I want my podcast to be #1 ranked in iTunes. and he asks for a flash mob and people show up for him, but he never shows up for anybody else. If that's how people operate, flash mobs won't work. Feedback and testimonials won't work. None of these things within the Launch Coalition will work. So it's really about finding those collaborative minded people, which means even if you're a newer entrepreneur, if there are entrepreneurs listening to this, they have a place in the Launch Coalition. It's all about strength in numbers. And we already talked about the fact that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you're an entrepreneur and you're hanging out with entrepreneurs like Jay, you will rapidly accelerate your success. Like, what are you doing hanging out with people inside the ClickFunnels Facebook group who aren't making any money? Find people like Jay who are making moves, who are building successful businesses. That's going to accelerate your success. And if you think you don't have anything you can contribute to the Launch Coalition, you can contribute by being you, by showing up for entrepreneurs like Jay, by showing up for entrepreneurs like me, by collaborating on our new projects, by giving us testimonials, by showing up in flash mobs, because then when it's your turn, we're going to show up for you. And as far as I know, there aren't any or many other places on the internet where that's the case. So yeah, it truly is about a worldwide network of entrepreneurs, of 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs, really all working together because there are ways that every single one of us can benefit each other. And Jay, one thing that I experience constantly in my day-to-day life here in Los Angeles and around the world is you can always learn something from anybody. Literally anybody that you meet on the streets or at a coffee shop or online. So I just think it's really cool to harness the power of all these different people in different businesses, different industries to grow together.
Absolutely. And in terms of, the small fee that it costs to be a part of something like this, I'm so happy to pay it. I'm part of so many of these Facebook groups that are free, and I'm in there and I just see the trash. I've unsubscribed from almost every single one of them. I think just by putting a little bit of money where your heart knows you need to be, it like really invests you into that group where you want to participate, you want to learn, you want to contribute. And I think that's a super important thing too. It's like paying for a workout class in advance. You pay for that workout class, now you're invested. You're going to go, you're going to work your butt out in that class. And I'm excited to give back. And I don't care what level you are. If you're, in this group and you're ready to participate and learn and contribute however you can at your existing stage, that's all that I would ask. And I'm, proud to be in there and jump on anyone's podcast and write those reviews, read their books, all the stuff. So super exciting stuff, Brian. To wrap it all up, how long did we go? 35 minutes, not bad.
We could go all day. This is
We
just the beginning, so I'm pumped. This was fun.
Yeah, let's do a couple others. But anyways, Brian, honestly, one of my favorite people, one of my favorite entrepreneurs. I'm going to drop all of your social links. I think the
Thank you.
website is imetbrian.com is the easiest way to find you. And from there, you can connect with him throughout all of his channels. His podcast is Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur. Probably better to search I Met Brian and then find it from there. But I'm going to tag it all in the show notes. And also, if you want to join the Launch Coalition, I'm going to be using my special code where Brian automatically sees that it came from me and you get a special place in line. He's going to review it and, we'll go from there. I hope a lot of you join this with me. And if you do, send me a DM on Instagram. Let me know that you applied and I'm going to talk to Brian about you. I've already had a couple of really good friends join the Launch Coalition. We're going to be the next generation of major entrepreneurs and thought leaders in this space. And it is freaking exciting.
Heck yeah. No, seriously, Jay, I'm honestly pumped. Thanks so much for having me on the show today. And you guys, you may not understand the power that Jay has in my ecosystem. Take him up on that offer. Use his special link, drjfeldman.com/launch. If you use that link and say that Jay referred you, not only Jay undersold his place in the Launch Coalition, not only will you have a special place in line, I will bump you straight to the top. Your application will come directly to me. We'll have a special place for you inside the Launch Coalition. So take Jay up on that, drjfeldman.com/launch. Say that Jay referred you. Jay, this was fun. Dude, the doors open up this week. I'm so excited to let people in. So thanks so much for having me on the show, and I'd love to do it again soon.
Brian, it's been a blast. Again, one of my favorite entrepreneurs. Everyone got to go follow him, subscribe to his podcast. And if you're not already subscribed to this one, you better be. Click that subscribe button and drop me a review. All right, Brian, thank you so much for joining me. And I am pumped for this week. Launch Coalition's opening its doors, and I'm going to get in there and have some fun.
Heck yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah, my pleasure.